hair.
Yeah, you got it. You got the hair.
I'm not even doing anything. I'm just fucking with my hair now. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. Well, wasn't waiting for anything. He's gonna finish combing his hair and just like fucking explosion of. Yeah, that'd be a hell of an intro.
You know who doesn't have hair? Either of the guys who were gonna beat those two guys' sex slaves in Pulp Fiction, which is what we're talking about. Segway.
Okay, that's the worst freaking. Remember those two guys? You know those really famous actors that were in lots of little things?
So this is our first ever retro review, classic review.
This is our classic movie review.
Vintage.
Okay, now we're just making. Yes, we're doing
Other
wine
words
tasting.
that mean old.
Yes.
Synonyms for elderly.
Synonyms for elder. We should. That'll be the title.
Synonyms for elderly.
No, let's not. All right.
Hello,
So
we're
everyone.
talking about Pulp Fiction.
Pulp. Man, that was a great intro.
The uber popular Quentin Tarantino.
Pulp Fiction, possibly Quentin Tarantino's most famous movie. It's the one that every filmmaker wants to remake, apparently.
I mean,
there's a reason it's super popular, especially amongst filmmakers.
Yeah.
It is perhaps, maybe not the first, but it's definitely one of the most well-known ideas of a kind of bizarrely put-together movie.
it is bizarrely put together.
Yeah, it's
I will
hard
grant
to
you that.
It is hard to explain. Let us try and explain this.
All right. So, if you haven't seen our reviews before, we're going to handle this just like our normal reviews. We'll talk general feelings about the movie. Then we'll put up a spoiler warning when we talk about our pros and our cons. We'll do final thoughts, and we'll give it a rating out of 10 from each of us.
Yeah.
And that'll be how this goes.
So yeah, this should be interesting because this is not a movie that's recently out in theaters, so it's hard to talk about like audience reactions. Because obviously,
talk about my reaction.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's like for a lot of the other movies, we talk about like we know why this was made.
Yeah.
No one knows why Quentin Tarantino does what he does.
Nobody knows why Quentin Tarantino does anything.
Except Quentin Tarantino. Maybe not even Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Anyways,
All right.
okay, so
little
Pulp
bit
Fiction.
of backstory.
Back it up. Oh yeah,
I had
what
not
is part of the
seen
backstory?
it.
Yes.
I had not seen it until just very
All
recently.
right, if you hadn't gotten from the few comments I had made earlier, the reason why we're starting to do classic movie reviews besides just doing it because it's a more territory to cover. This guy, despite being currently in a film master's program, has seen very few extraordinarily classic movies like The Godfather. Come on, he hasn't finished 2001.
I was like 10 minutes into 2001, and then you and Zach interrupted me.
Okay, it's fine. I'll give you the interruption, but you never went back and finished it, and that was like what, a year and a half ago.
It was less than that.
Whatever. Anyway,
It was like 6 months ago.
yeah, it's only like 18 months ago. It was completely just not. Anyways.
Anyway,
so
that's not the point. We're talking about Pulp Fiction.
yeah, the point being, okay, so you haven't seen this movie,
I hadn't
which
until
was
we saw it
surprising.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it's you went away. We watched it, then you went.
We watched
away
it.
on
I
break.
went away for a week on vacation.
So it's been about a
came back, and now we're reviewing it.
week-ish since do that. So this is not quite fresh like we normally
Yeah.
do, but close enough.
We normally would watch it and immediately review it.
It is hard
It's been a couple
to not
weeks.
forget this movie. I'm not gonna lie. Like this movie definitely has plenty of memorable.
It's a pretty forgetful movie. I mean, there's not much interesting.
Get out. I mean, come on.
It was,
Alright, anyway,
it was sarcasm, Dan.
No!
I was being sarcastic.
Get your chasm out of here. Anyways, okay, we're bad at this. We need bring it.
I mean, okay.
Let's go.
Question:
Right.
Is it would it be considered too late to even worry about spoilers? Because it's been like what?
I don't know.
How many years since it came out?
Let's stick to the format.
Okay,
man.
fine.
Let's not mess this up for just because we're doing a bizarre movie. Anyway, okay. So general thoughts on Pulp Fiction, coming from new guy. Go. What were your initial thoughts? What were your feelings?
Weird.
Okay.
Very weird.
We have 2 words so far.
It's odd for me because like I've only seen like 4 or 5 movies of Tarantino's.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure I'm a fan of the way he tells stories.
It's definitely a unique way of telling a story. I think
like,
the biggest reason why people like Tarantino is because it's so obvious when it's Tarantino.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's like you can never mistake a Tarantino movie for something else.
Right.
You really can't.
And it's like I'm not sure.
Usually by the violence.
Like there are things that I respect about the way he does his movies, and then there are things that I'm like, that could have been a little stronger.
But why?
I'm not the biggest fan of non-linear storytelling. Is my biggest issue.
That is definitely an important thing. Like Pulp Fiction,
Because it's non-linear.
Yeah, it goes
it's
all
out
over
of
the
order.
place. Although afterwards, when we went through it,
We
it's
talked
not
about
as
it.
out
It's not
of
as
linear
out of
as I
order.
remember it. I was
Yeah.
like, I forgot the pieces. It actually fits together pretty well, and just has the one scene taken out.
But
But
you
never know that until the end.
Yeah, it's not as out of order as it seems when you
Yeah.
first watch it.
Exactly.
But like my thing with non-linear storytelling is the first question I ask is why is this non-linear? And if there's not a good enough reason, then I just end up being like, why?
Yeah, that is definitely a big concern.
With the Hateful Eight, it worked because there was a reveal that happened when we went back.
You revealed, and then he went back to kind of explain the reveal. Yeah,
Right.
the Hateful Eight
And
worked
then
in that
everything kind of tied together with all the different little clues and
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's usually how nonlinear storytelling
Right.
is in movies, where it's like there's the reveal, and then there's a bit of a backstory, either through exposition or an actual scene that explains that reveal better.
Yeah.
That's usually it.
In Pulp Fiction, though, I'm not sure I got that same feeling of reveal when we went back.
Well, it wasn't done for the reveal,
Right.
and that makes it very, very odd for this. Is that it was done to replicate a style that isn't a movie style at all.
Right.
It was replicating the old dime novels of Pulp Fiction. And they were meant to be broken up stories. They were connected by being in their own little world, and they had recurring characters or similarities, and they had certain themes that may be attached, but it was still very much one-shot stories.
Yeah,
So-
and I have no I don't want to be misconstrued here. I don't dislike the movie.
Okay, yeah.
That's not the case.
Neither of us are going to hate on this
Yeah.
movie. We're just going to question it a little. So don't worry.
I have no problem with the story itself. I'm just not the biggest fan of the way it's told.
Fair enough. And
And-
that's a big thing, because that is, I
Yeah.
mean, how a movie's presented is a very large part in
Yeah.
whether you like the movie or not. Like for example, if the movie's presented in black and white, it can take away from certain things. Some people say otherwise, but that's an idea. Like that's a change in perception that can alter your own perception of the movie. So
And
that's a big
it
deal.
really just kind of stems from my own kind of dislike of nonlinear storytelling. Just given
Secretly, I'm just going to edit this where the whole review
the whole
is going to be
review is out of order. Oh man,
You'll just have to piece it together later.
It's
I don't have that power.
I've lost my train of thought now. Thanks.
Sorry.
No.
It's my job.
God, fuck. What was I saying?
You were talking about you didn't like nonlinear storytelling,
Right.
Because
And I was gonna do another point, and I forgot.
Damn it! You forgot your point entirely. Okay, well,
Anyway.
let's maybe we'll come back to you. That's what the nonlinear point. Nonlinear point will be is that we'll never stay on track.
Right.
We'll just be bouncing around all over the place, and
We'll be all over the
you'll have
place.
to get the thought from the general chaos of our review, because we can't stay on track. We're shit.
I think my point was like I like all of the like pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish they weren't ordered.
Well, yeah,
That's
like I guess
kind
like
of my thing.
it is a good point.
And
It's just like
I understand why it's out of order. I just
it has, as we taught, like the point of it being taken out of order. The one thing that's not really in order is kind of that diner scene. Why are you?
the wreck at the top was blending in with the hearts, and I thought it wasn't recording.
That would have been really.
That would have been really bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's an awkward moment. We'll have to cut out.
Anyway.
Or just throw it in. Okay. So back to what, like the idea of like the only real scene that is in here is the infamous diner scene, which we'll discuss more in detail later. So like, but the whole point of that scene of why it's out of place is that diner scene is basically the culminating message of the story. The idea that maybe that whether it's, at least to me, obviously this movie's been thought over 1,000 times, so there's probably plenty of differing opinions. This is mine. Is that the theme of the movie is that it's very much a, do you really want to stay in the game, or do you get out when you have a chance to? You know, that moment of clarity, as Samuel Jackson lovingly put it, with a pistol aimed at someone's face. Anyway, that moment of clarity that shows like, okay, this is not worth the danger anymore. Should I get out, or do I just stay in? Some people get out, some people stay in, some people risk even farther and try and game the system far past when they should, and they all have different results. Most of them pretty crappy. There are very few people that have a completely good time from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think anyone has a completely good time from beginning to end. So yeah, it's having that diner scene out of place means that they can show all the examples and then show the revelation in near the end. So they finish the movie with the scene that should have been a lot earlier in the movie, but it's kind of it's a revelation point, and it's interesting look at this. Personally, I really like nonlinear storytelling when it's focused. Mm-hmm. I completely understand when it gets off the walls, because it's really hard to keep track of, and I think you either have to have a lot of scenes that work, a lot of scenes or stories that work fine on their own, or you have a narrative that needs nonlinear storytelling, like the reveal. And when you have those things,
that's the thing with Tarantino, is he does a lot of really good scenes.
Yes,
I think the trouble comes when he stitches them together.
Pulp Fiction is some of the most famous scenes in cinema history. Mm-hmm. You know, there's Samuel Jackson, threatening people.
Say what, mother?
Yeah, it's like, do they speak English and what? You know, like he has some of the best. This is perhaps some his best performance, just because he has some fantastic lines. It's just absolutely brilliant. But like, even just the bits and pieces that aren't connected much to anything, like the date between Mia Wallace and Vincent Vega, like there's no real massive connection. It just connects because it was referenced in other things. It's part of the overarching story. But you could take that and you can make it its own movie.
Yeah,
it could totally be its own movie, which would be an interesting movie. So
this movie felt,
it works,
and I feel like it's on purpose, but it felt more like a series of short films.
Well, yeah, exactly. Which is
interconnected. But I feel like that's the point. So that's definitely a good thing.
So I think it did what it was supposed to do, but I completely understand the concern that this kind of style has gone to, which is actually a point I made earlier. Tarantino gets put up on a pedestal a lot by young filmmakers.
Yes.
Because they see Pulp Fiction, they're like, oh shit, that's brilliant.
As somebody in film school.
Well, yeah, as both people who come from a film school, and he's even more so in the field. But you see it a lot, and you see a lot of young filmmakers.
Everybody, like 90% of the people in our class were like, I want to make Pulp Fiction, like
basically
Tarantino movies.
They idolize Tarantino and want to do that style. The problem is that a lot of people jump into that style without really thinking of how the style's supposed to be done.
They just want to emulate.
And then it's where it's just out of order. And if it has no purpose to be out of order, then it's just awkward. Like, yeah, sometimes it works, and sometimes you have the pieces together in the proper order, and it does work. Like, but if you just shift things around for the sake of shifting them around, you got nothing.
It's also a case of like Tarantino's style is so obviously Tarantino.
Yeah, like
that anybody's trying to emulate it, it's so obvious that they're trying to emulate.
Yeah, it comes off as being like, yes, you're cloning Tarantino.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, good job. You've watched this movie, so has millions of other people.
Yeah,
it's not a thing. So it's something that we see quite often. So anyone who has no idea about the filming, if you didn't really know that, yeah, Tarantino's gets quite elevated. Whether he's worth the elevation, I think that's something for another video.
Yeah,
perhaps we'll look into it a bit more. Because Tarantino has a lot going for it. There's lots of pros and cons. That's a whole other video as it is. So stay tuned for maybe another thing there. We'll get to you on that one. Okay, so overall, movie was good. Had a lot of great moments, a lot of great scenes. Like I said, these are still some of the best scenes in cinema history.
Yeah, some of the most iconic scenes that, like, even though I hadn't seen the movie, I knew about.
You knew about them. Yeah, I mean, everyone has seen.
Everybody knows the what scene.
Yeah, like the whole scene with Samuel Jackson and John Travolta, like side by side with their guns in the suits.
Yeah.
That's like an iconic poster thing. Like you've seen it in pop culture things all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a big movie. Like you cannot.
Most people know about the briefcase with the
the golden briefcase that never gets explained. So on and so forth.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So overall, positive, but it has some concerns. Is there anything that you think could have been a deal breaker if it had been more prevalent in this movie? Like, is there anything that's really sticking out, or we just want to go to pros and cons? Is there any general perceptions where it's like, I don't know, this was really weird, why did it exist? Or does one?
Not to an enormous extent. Like I said, I think my biggest issue is just the way Tarantino does things. I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of that.
Fair enough.
There are times, like, I love the Hateful Eight, specifically for the reason of that reveal. It has issues towards the end where I feel like the reveal comes too early in the movie.
That's possible.
But other than that, I really like the Hateful Eight.
The Hateful Eight was very, very solid. I guess comparing the two is very interesting. Well, obviously because they've got like 20 years difference between them. This was mid-90s and Hateful Eight just came out last year, so...
I mean, I like Kill Bill too.
And Kill Bill was much more of it. Pulp Fiction was narrating on styles of old magazines and short stories, while Kill Bill was kind of focusing very heavily on movie styles of the old like action kung fu movies.
Yeah.
So I think that translated better overall because it was dealing with the same medium.
Yeah.
Like Pulp Fiction was taking from a different place and had to like basically film noir was the closest it could be, but it wasn't really film noir. So anyway,
I agree.
All right, so let's just go into the pros and cons. We'll just dig right into this. Spoiler alert. We need to figure out. I didn't need to be big spoiler letters. I want to hold the spoiler.
You want to hold the spoiler?
Whatever. It's probably too much work. We're lazy. Okay. Anyway, spoiler alert.
Spoilers. We're getting into spoilers. We're going to talk about pros and cons.
Take it away. I'm
we're starting with pros or cons?
Pros.
All right.
Don't mess up the formulas. You want to put it in the wrong order. He's doing it on purpose. That's my idea. I'm trying to mess with you. Don't mess with me back. Don't do this.
I think my biggest pro overall, the performances. Like, goddamn. Like, if you could... the one thing you have to say about Tarantino, he knows how to get performances out of his actors, and he knows how to make them go over the top.
And it helps that he chooses some damn good actors.
Some damn good actors like Samuel Jackson.
Samuel Jackson, John Travolta. I'm gonna horribly make. I mean, Uma Thurman, and I draw blanks from there. I feel so fucking bad.
Bruce Willis.
Wow, I forgot Bruce Willis this time. Sorry, Bruce, we love you. Anyways, okay, but there's.
I only remembered that because you said it earlier.
We are bad at this. We're professionals.
Yeah.
Okay, no, this is a very big star-studded cast, and Tarantino writes very good scenes. He does, and he's known to be a master of dialogue. And I honestly do agree with that to an extent. Mm-hmm. At the very least, he can do it in certain times. Not all of his dialogue is perfect.
Yeah.
But when it makes good dialogue, it's amazing.
I feel like there are instances where he's more the king of monologues than dialogue.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I was like, speech, like words.
Yeah.
Words coming out of actor's mouth.
Words that people
He makes a damn good conversation.
Yeah.
Whether it's one person just speaking to another person, or whether it's two people going back and
that's the
forth.
thing about Pulp Fiction, there's a lot of conversations.
Oh, well, the whole thing basically is.
Yeah,
despite being extraordinarily gory,
it's
actually very little is action. It's mostly people.
It's conversation after conversation, and some of it feels irrelevant, but
there's a lot of
so well acted that it doesn't matter, and it adds to the atmosphere.
Well, yeah, there's some scenes where like even if
there's the whole conversation they have about giving a girl a massage. And whether or not that's like giving somebody a foot massage,
that feeds so perfectly.
But that feeds into their date, and it adds to their relationship and the whole atmosphere leading up to this thing that they're about to do.
Instead of being a side comment as it would be in a lot of things, it's a whole like 15-minute scene of Vincent and Jules.
This whole thing of them from the car walking into this apartment complex.
Which is a great following shot too. Like they follow them all the way through having this conversation. So like it feels like you're really there in the conversation because you are, and so it has a very good flow to that, and all the conversations feel like they could be completely benign.
Yeah.
None of these conversations are something that you would not expect someone to be saying. Even when
Jules
Jules gets super philosophical, it sounds like someone who's just a little off his rocker and getting philosophical.
These are conversations that you would just have with people. They're not like movie conversations where they're explaining things and they're
in comparison. We're doing a lot of comparisons with this video, so just bear with us. In comparison, I find that compared to this to say The Dark Knight, which I love that movie, I love it to death, fantastic. It is a big problem with the fact that the conversations really don't feel like people are having them, but figures are having them. Mm-hmm. This is Batman the figure having a discussion with Joker. The whole interrogation scene is this whole like grand philosophical battle, and it's great to watch.
Awesome scene,
but it doesn't feel like two people doing it. It feels like two characters doing it.
It's not the realism that like Tarantino likes.
Yeah, when Jules and Vincent are talking over pancakes about whether Jules wants to retire after almost getting killed, like that feels just like two decent friends bullshitting each other, going back and forth. They have random things like, man, I'd never eat bacon. Bacon's good. It's like, well, pigs are filthy animals. Like, well, it's like rat might taste like pumpkin pie, but I'm not gonna eat it. Like, that kind of stuff. Like that's just little banter back and forth that I could imagine myself having if I was, cultured and socially active. Whatever. I just
And all that being said, on the realism thing, I've been on record. I'm not the biggest fan of realism in fiction.
That's a good point. Like realism has its place.
Obviously, we can't go like unless you're doing like high fantasy. You don't want to go too like over the top with what is and isn't possible.
It all depends on say Independence Day.
Right.
You don't expect a whole lot of realism. Yeah. With superhero movies, the realism teeters a bit. Some of them are better than others, but like if you're wanting to see Thor, you don't expect to see that. If you want to see Iron Man, maybe a little less so. So there's degrees.
But when you're talking about a story of two mobsters,
two hitmen
who are doing this job,
doing this. They're all,
and 90% of the movie is done back and forth.
Yeah,
then it's fine.
That makes it where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like realism has this place when you want things to feel like they're people to feel like they're people.
Yeah.
And it really depends on how far from fantasy it is. Pulp Fiction is about as far from fantasy as you can get, to the point where like they have to go to there's some weird things going on. There's a lot of like very honest danger going on.
That's not to say that there isn't really bombastic things.
Oh, there's ridiculous over the top things because it's Tarantino. Like,
guy gets his fucking head blown off in the back seat, and it just
you gotta have an opinion.
Right.
God, there's so many good lines in that movie. But like, there's ridiculous over the top things. But all of them, like, the guy's head got blown off because a pistol 2 feet from his face went off because John Travolta's an idiot, doesn't know about gun safety, like despite being a hired hitman. Vincent Vega, spoiler, gets killed because he went to the toilet and forgot to bring his gun with him. Yeah. Like, imagine, like, you always, like, forget to bring your phone when you go to the bathroom. Like, damn it, what am I going to do while I'm here? And it's like, that's like that, but taken to the extreme. It's the same situation. You're like, I didn't bring anything there, but he remembered his book, forgot his gun. So when Bruce Willis comes in, he finds the gun and shoots him.
So I think that's probably one of the reasons the realism in this didn't bother me as much, is because it's contrasted with really bombastic.
It's done well. They take things that make sense, and they do it very well. Like the realism in this movie does well, and the scenes in this movie do very well with that because they're all conversations you have. So yes, they all flow in well. All these pros work so well together.
Yeah.
Like the characters and the scenes that they're in feel very real lifelike, and thus the overall realism of the movie feels very potent, despite the craziness of it. Like, out of all the gun shops they can stumble into and have a fight in, they have one that is hosting a BDSM sex slave ring in the back. Like, what?
They just have a gimp in a box back there.
And a samurai sword above the
samurai sword.
Oh my god. Anyways,
references to Kill Bill before Kill Bill was a thing.
Yes. Tarantino does that pretty well. So
man.
yeah, that's definitely the big things about the movie. That's what people remember, the characters. They remember Samuel L. Jackson being a ridiculous badass. He's a badass motherfucker.
I remember Quentin Tarantino in his bathrobe.
Quentin Tarantino, in one of his own personal cameos in the movie, he does actually, I think he does that more often than not.
He does that a lot.
But this one is probably one of his nerdiest. Like,
God.
it's definitely, for those who don't know, despite his reputation as being like making these badass movies and directing these badass
He
characters,
sounds like a dork.
He is a dork. He is a dork. I mean, I'm saying that completely
as soon as he
unlikely.
started talking, I was like, "That's not his real voice." No.
Oh, that is. Like, and I wish I could
man.
replicate it. It's not a voice I could do well, but like,
I don't even remember it. I just remember it being dorky. And
he has that kind of way of speaking that he's going to do that, and he almost sounds like he's like,
he's
you
like,
know,
"Why the
he's.
fuck are you in my house?"
Did you see? I'm not.
You expect him to be like, "What the fuck are you doing in my house?" And he's just like,
I'm a badass.
He's like, "I'm a
he's
badass."
He's a dork in a
and
robe.
he's like, "I'm gonna make a movie about cowboys."
Wow. Okay, I don't think it was that bad.
Okay, it wasn't that bad. But
It was like,
you know.
yeah, when Bonnie goes to the store, she buys shit coffee. So I have to buy my own coffee because I like the gourmet shit. He honestly, he sounds also like a whiny hipster the entire
He does.
time.
He's whiny.
Again, no offense to Tarantino. I am a fan to an extent, but I think he knows how he sounds. Like he wouldn't have.
He's probably lived a while with that voice, I would imagine.
It's a new one. He just got it. He just got it implanted, but he's okay with it. No, so even perhaps the worst performances, like Tarantino's he's not that great of an actor, but even still,
one of the
he's
weaker
fun.
parts, yeah.
He's probably the weakest part, but he's still fun. Like you still like. First of all, you're just like, who the fuck is this guy? This white scrawny asshole in the suburbs that Jules. How does Jules know him? Like what? It was funny because I've always wanted to know more about that character, but we never get a chance to. And I feel that that's like, out of as horrible as having a Pulp Fiction 2 would be, there are several characters I just want to know more about.
I don't think it would be horrible to have a Pulp Fiction 2.
It could be. Well, it really depends. It really depends on what they do with it. Like, I'm sure Tarantino could probably pull it off. I'm also sure that he's been on record and saying that he never wants to. Although there was an idea of doing a Vega Brothers because one of the main characters in Reservoir Dogs, I believe, is supposedly the brother of Vincent Vega because all of his movies are in the same universe. Anyways, but then John Travolta got too old. Yeah, that's basically it. Anyway, so because they'd have to be before Pulp Fiction because he doesn't make it.
Oh, spoilers.
Anyways, okay, so do you have any other cons you want to point out?
Yes.
Cricket.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, the overall method of story delivery. Not the biggest non-linear fan. Talked about this.
Wait, yeah, that's a pro. We're so pros here.
You just said cons.
Did I?
Yeah. You said any other big cons.
Roll the tape. Whatever. Okay, what I meant was any other big pros.
Any other big
Sorry.
pros.
We're still on pros.
Okay.
I'm just making sure. Is there any other pros you want to look at? Because I might. Let's see. I think I have a few. Although we covered a lot of them in broad strokes.
Yeah.
Characters, setting, things. Okay, cool. Personally, I'm going to put storytelling on top of the pros because this has been one of my most favorite movies to go back and try and piece it together. Because I like, with my movies, like, I'm fine with just turn your brain off and enjoy the fun movies. I do like them. But I like movies where you go back and like, oh yeah, you can analyze this, and the character motives you can kind of pick apart and talk with. I like dissecting characters, mentally, metaphorically. Shush. Anyway, so I like really just getting inside.
Just have Samuel Jackson on an operating table.
No! No!
Just dissected him.
Oh God, that'd be horrible.
You said it.
I was trying to get away from. Stop it. Okay. In all seriousness, there's a lot of very potent things that could be done with this storytelling, and I like stories that try and add more depth. It's also probably a big reason why I love The Watchmen, both comic and movie. That's why I also just
the Watchmen movie.
we'll get to that later.
That's another video.
So like, we'll get to this, and it's like I think that's also why I'm a sucker for monologues, despite the fact that I know that they're usually pretty shitty. Like as far as like actual storytelling goes, like come on, shut up.
Yeah.
People wouldn't actually do this, but I love those because of that. And I think that the monologues, the talks in here, come off as both natural and interesting to dissect. So I think this is a perfect blend of things that I still want to like think about and move and roll over in my head and stuff, but they don't feel like they're just like a thesis. Like
I have to admit, there was a point during that last monologue with Sam Jackson where I was like, "Are you still talking?"
he goes on and on, but it's an
He goes on
intense
for
one.
like 5 minutes.
Well, the whole
It's like-
scene goes on for 5 minutes because then the what's her name comes in, she goes ballistic, then Vincent comes in and everything. Well, he keeps
Yeah.
calling us like, just cool down, bitch, just cool down. Samuel Jackson has to lay down the law quite a bit.
Yeah.
But what he says is still very awesome.
Right.
I
And
still
so
think
his
it's one of my
performance there is great. It just
Yeah.
like I'm like, is this still happening?
Understandable. It's definitely something that doesn't fit for everyone, but it's my personal taste. So I'm gonna put this as a big pro. Like the storytelling and the dialogues work very well as far as a like constructed kind of just looking at the meaning of the movie and the themes. It's very interesting to pull this apart. And really think about it without it being too over the top that it just doesn't work as an actual movie. Like this still feels like a solid story even if you're not digging into the background. So okay, now I guess let's move into cons. Shall we discuss more on the non-linearity? Because you've obviously put that as
We
a
talked
con.
about it. I mean, honestly, that's just a taste thing. Like
yeah,
if
well,
you're
yeah.
a fan of nonlinear storytelling, then sure.
Yeah.
I'm just not, and that's just my personal thing.
That's fair enough. Like, it's, at the very least, yeah, look, it has its place. It often does not work when people just aren't paying attention to it. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen there's been several nonlinear movies throughout the years that just don't work because they're trying to like shake it up by making you think that it's linear when it's not. And then but then they can't do that. They can't make the nonlinearity too obvious because they don't want you to know it's nonlinear. And then it's just like they switch one scene around and it's a twist.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. There's bits and pieces, but just some things they do, and scenes, movies that go back over and redo things to kind of get the nonlinear from like a different perspective. That usually doesn't work either. Where it's just like, okay, we've seen this. Hateful Eight actually had that part, and I that's kind of the part where I didn't like it when they started redoing the scenes, but from different perspectives. I mean, I like the whole.
I would agree that.
I like the
flashback
reveal, but the
was-
problem is
too
Tarantino
long.
stayed too long in those
Yeah.
scenes. Anyways, that's actually another.
It was too long, and I think it came too early. But that's another.
Yeah.
That's a different movie.
Funny enough, like I think Pulp Fiction doesn't do this as much as other Tarantino films, but it does it more than some,
Yeah.
like Kill Bill and so like that. Like the scenes are long. There are some scenes that go on too long, and if it wasn't for the interesting dialogue and fun characters, this could be a very drag of a movie.
It could be boring.
It's almost 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Two and a half, going on 3.
Close to. I think it's like 250 something. I think
Jeez.
is what Jake said.
Yeah,
When he
so
looked it up.
it is very close to a 3-hour movie,
Yeah.
which means if it doesn't catch you in, you will be bored
And
out of
that's-
your skull. 'Cause
There
it's
is
long.
something to be said about the fact that it can keep your interest with the characters and the dialogue,
Well, yeah, like I said, it.
given how long some of the scenes
Yeah,
are. Like
like-
just the scene with Travolta and Thurman in the restaurant, and then like that whole thing is like a half an hour
Yeah.
of just that, and then her overdosing.
Yeah, like the actual action of that scene is like the 15 minutes that like on either side of that
Yeah.
30-hour block. But the
Yeah.
reason why you care about the overdose afterwards is because of that 30-hour block.
Right.
That 30-minute block.
It's because of that the conversations
Yeah.
they have in the restaurant.
Suddenly Mia Wallace is an interesting character instead
Yeah.
of just a woman. Like if it was just a woman overdose, you'd be like, "Whoa, shit, this is intense." But you're like, "Okay."
It's like suddenly there's depth to her, and
Yeah, now you
relationship
see
between
like
the two.
you're like, oh god, you're freaking out with Vincent because it's like this is bad. And the scene before that capitalized on how much losing Mia Wallace would be bad. Like, someone gets thrown out of a 4-story window
Yeah.
because he touched
And
her
it-
feet.
I was-
Imagine what Vincent would happen if he killed her. Like
And that's something I was thinking. I was afraid during the movie that they might like flash back to him throwing the guy out the window.
yeah.
Because I was like, all right, that might be too much. But I'm happy that they just like alluded to
They,
it.
they
and
talked about it, which was because there's so much conversations. They allowed to paint a lot of pictures of what the characters did without actually showing them.
It allows
nice.
it allows your imagination to run and like you to actually think like, wait, so did he actually throw him out a window?
Exactly. Because
He
they never confirm. They never confirm.
Doesn't confirm
how,
nor deny the reason behind him throwing the guy out the window.
Yeah.
So it makes you kind of think a little bit.
Exactly.
Which is cool.
Which is good. So yeah, so it does use the situations very. We've been going. We just delved into pro territory. Damn it! What were we on? We were on cons.
Cons. Going back in.
Ah!
Okay. I have one other besides the nonlinear thing.
Okay.
I'm a fan of ambiguity. I like things being left open.
Yeah.
I feel like there's too much open-endedness.
What are you talking about? I mean, it's just the thing in the suitcases.
There's just a shiny thing in the suitcase.
And then you know what happened to Jules was that and then you know what you know yeah. This is basically
felt like
filmmaker artistry at a very high level of almost pretentiousness. I'll cut him some slack because Tarantino does do a lot of artsy things well in this movie. But he does a lot of artsy, like, what does this mean? What does it mean? Kind of deal.
I think it's too much though in this movie.
Like I've heard a lot of theories about what's in the briefcase, ranging from the benign and stupid to rather some very bizarre, out there, and interesting
his
theories.
soul.
Like the fact that it's like Marcellus Wallace's soul, like, okay, what? I mean, it doesn't fit with the realism of the rest of the movie. But it's an interesting idea, and it fits with the themes of the movie of staying in.
Because I had only heard that soul theory, and I thought that was fact, that it was his soul in the briefcase. So I'm watching it like, oh, they're getting the soul. Oh shit, it's gonna get crazy.
Oh man!
And then like, it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it never comes to pass. So it's very much a side effect, but you know that it's weird because on one hand I'm like, it was a great way to show the importance of a MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm.
In that a MacGuffin, for anyone who knows, is an item of importance that, you know, it gets thrown into the scene. It basically just moves the plot forward. So like the whole point of Jules and Vincent going to that room and killing all those guys is for that briefcase. The briefcase, every time someone opens it, is fucking glowing and golden. And that the end scene where it's like he's showing it to the other guy, and the guy's like, it's beautiful.
The thief to like stop.
It convinces the thief to stop it. Like that. Obviously, the briefcase is big. Problem is that's a great setup for a MacGuffin. You're like, wow, this thing is obviously very important and powerful.
But they don't tell you what it is.
But it never does anything besides be like, oh wow, that thing is very important and powerful, and now it's gone.
Yeah. And I mean, you saw my reaction at the end of the movie. I was like, that's not the end of the movie. What? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop. There's what?
That's like another thing.
It felt unfinished. It felt like there was more that needed to happen. It felt like
Fair enough.
And like I said, I like ambiguity. I just felt like there were too many unanswered questions to stop the movie at that point.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, the whole idea of, I guess, and that was kind of the point, and a part that I had liked, just in general, is that the ambiguity to me does kind of reflect rather nicely in points. I can agree that the suitcase I wish had at least a little bit more to go on, but it's also not that what's in the box.
What's in the suitcase?
That's a different movie.
So
okay.
That one I have seen.
Okay. But so like the suitcase probably could have done a little more, but it also wasn't in the movie that long, so I'll let it pass. But what I kind of do like is there's very little pomp and circumstance to the death of Vincent Vega. We don't know what happens to the point where the scene that he dies in is not his scene whatsoever. He's literally coming out of the toilet because he was sitting at Bruce Willis's house.
Feel like it needed to have more pomp and circumstance. I felt like it came off as unimportant.
I can understand, but the reason why I liked the fact that it came off as unimportant, going back to the theme that I feel is in this movie, the one that really goes home, is that if you stay in the game too long, you're just going to get ruined. Like, Marcellus Wallace lost, assuming the soul in the briefcase theory is correct or even has any kind of ground, Marcellus Wallace lost his soul, got, basically raped, got raped, and went through a lot of shit, even when he was in power, because he's been in the game too long. Vincent Vega stayed when after Jules left, because they get shot at by this one guy almost point blank, and all the bolts miss. Jules takes that as a sign from God that he needs to get out, and he does. Vincent doesn't, thinks it's full of shit, and stays and dies. And I think the reason it's so pomp and circumstance is because like you don't get glory by staying in this corrupt system for too long. You don't get all that stuff. That's why I feel that a lot of the things that feel off when you look at it as just a movie feel better under the guise of the theme of this idea that it was not meant... Like, yes, if this was just a movie about a hitman, and the hitman's death was halfway through the movie, and he just got shot coming out of the crapper, that would suck. I would be like, what the hell? But because they had a little more themes in there, and I feel this movie, it was very obvious in trying to be artsy, then I think it's solid. Nothing happened.
Nope.
No technical difficulties whatsoever.
What were you saying before the call?
Right. So I would say that the reason why I think a lot. All right, back here. A lot of the things that happen in this movie that seem like really would be really bland in any other movie because of what I think all the bits and pieces and artsiness to this movie really builds up this idea of a theme that this isn't supposed to be glamorous. Like the hitman in awesome suits start off the movie like being badass, and same idea says an awesome scene. Before the end of the movie, they get stripped of their suits and clothes, get into those dorky like shorts and t-shirts, and have to be hosed down in the backyard. Like, it's not glamorous. Despite the glowing suitcase, despite the massive stacks of money and all that stuff, and the heroin and all that stuff, the heroin backfires in the place when it almost kills Mia Wallace. They get stripped of their clothes and awesomeness when Vincent Vega does a stupid move and blows someone's head off in the back of the car. You're like, nothing goes perfectly right. By the end of it, everything was always a little bit awkward. It never worked out perfectly. Nothing went out without a hitch. The diner's robbery for both the robbers and for Jules, it didn't work out great. I mean, Jules technically like bought his stuff. Like, I think Jules got out the best by the end, but there was still a lot of like it never ended on a high note, which I think was the point. You have this idea that this is crime. This is organized crime. This is not happy places. You don't go to organized crime to live a happy life. You do it for a rich one, maybe a short one. You don't know. You never know when Zed's gonna find you and strap you up in the back and rape you while the gimp gleefully watches.
I just need to say, I didn't expect that scene.
No one expects that scene.
I don't know how.
That is the Spanish Inquisition of movie scenes.
I don't know how I hadn't heard of it before.
Because, to be honest, it's actually a very well-kept secret. Like, everyone I've seen watch Pulp Fiction, if they know that someone around has not seen it, they don't mention the gimp scene. They don't even mention the gimp. It's... Because
as soon as it happened,
I was like, okay,
they have ball gags, there's whips behind it, they're in a sex ton.
Yeah, like,
no.
wait, they get captured by the one guy, you say like, oh crap, this is going to be bad. You think they're either going to be tortured or at worst, or do something that's like, but then it's like, those are ball gags, not just ready to
and then
it's like, and then the guy comes out like, bring out the gimp, it's like, the what?
What did you say?
And they bring out someone in a gimp suit. And it was like,
I'm like, I don't know if I should be horrified or like really turned on right now. I'm confused.
Well, I mean, if that's your thing, whatever.
Anyway,
if you open the door in a gimp suit, I'm gonna be very upset. I'm just saying.
Anyway, back to your point about what was your point about? It was about the unglamorous death of
unglamorous death. So I guess like
I understand
retroactive pro, but yeah, I get that.
I understand. But to me, it felt like this is a main character dying here.
Was he?
I mean, he was one of the first two we saw, and he's one of the two that we have besides Sam that we have.
I think he has the most screen time, despite the fact that Bruce Willis's scene goes on for quite a while. I think he has the most screen time because
Bruce Willis is the main character.
Well, I guess like that, and that's another thing. You can probably chalk up the con.
You could probably say that.
Going back, here's another con. this is a horrible movie to teach filmmaking with.
Yeah,
While also still having some good things that it's a confusing movie to teach filmmaking with.
It breaks a lot of rules.
It breaks a lot of rules in a good way, in fun ways. It breaks them well, but it still busts pretty much every rule in the book.
Right.
So if you're a filmmaker and you want to make films, do not start with Pulp Fiction as your main inspiration. By all means, watch it, learn it, understand it, but
because
you can't do it. Because for example, Bruce Willis, given what he does, could be seen as a hero character and as part of the main character. He comes in halfway through the movie, so he can't possibly be the main character.
Yeah.
But then again, in that whole sequence, Vincent is in it for like 5 minutes. So
he's the main character of the short film within the longer film. Is what it is.
Yeah, Vincent Vega is the main character for about half of it. Bruce Willis is the main character for the other half. That doesn't make sense, but whatever. It works for this.
It's very weird,
but it's definitely
there's the saying that you have to learn the rules before you can break them.
Well, yeah, and that's a saying for pretty much everything. You don't anything creative. If it's not creative, then you probably shouldn't be breaking the rules because they're there for a reason, usually for safety purposes.
Yeah.
But as far as like creativity, like you learn how to do something. Then once you have really gotten the hold of how to do it properly, and
then you break.
Properly is where things get messy.
Is a relative
But at the very least, once you master the basics, then you break all the rules. Then you can do Tarantino stuff.
Then you get artsy and pompous.
Yeah, yeah. Get your pompousness later. You have to earn that shit.
You have to earn your right to be a dickbag.
Yeah, like us. We earned our right to just be complete douches on camera.
Anyway,
that's why we're here.
Back to what we were talking about. I understand that it goes with the theme and all that, and I get it. But it so goes against everything I know.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those like
a main character just died and it felt unimportant, and I was like,
yeah.
It was like, I'm only saying this because I just watched our Warcraft review. It's like what's his name, the orc. Durotan. It's like Durotan's death. It just felt meaningless.
Dies like a half an hour before the movie ends, and it's like, wait, wasn't he the?
And I only thought of that because I just edited it, but like, it feels meaningless. Like,
we'll have to make sure we post this one after the Warcraft review because we just put a Warcraft.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Damn it! We're not like. Oh, the spoiler warnings have to be for spoiler for everything in the universe.
Spoiler for all of the things.
Oh God!
But like, it just
careful. We'll spoil. Everything now.
We'll spoil Harry Potter. Dumbledore dies.
What?
Anyway. But like when a character's death feels like there's no weight attached to it, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I cared enough that character died.
And I agree because that's how I usually prefer character deaths, that's a really weird thing to say. Like I usually prefer people to die very, very grandiose,
extravagantly.
Yes. People should die maybe, let's die extravagantly. Yeah. That sounds good.
I mean, but I get what you're saying.
Character deaths not being important usually makes you not care about the character.
Yeah.
Vincent Vega's death was very just out of nowhere. I mean, honestly, you don't even know Vincent Vega is going to be the one that comes out of the bathroom until he comes out of the bathroom. Like,
and then he gets shot.
He doesn't even have an entrance to that scene. He's
not even he doesn't say anything.
He's just like, oh look, there's a fucking machine gun on the counter.
He just opens the door and Bruce Willis unloads on him.
Yeah, like that's it. And then it's so done and done. It makes it for like if that had been any Joe Schmo, it would have been fine. It would have made the point Bruce Willis has taken out the hitman sent to get him. Doesn't matter. We didn't know him. We didn't care. He was just a random dude.
It literally could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody. But because it was Vincent Vega, it did have a bit of a bad feeling. And I agree. Like I'm with you. I can understand. I still think that it has a lot of reason to it.
Yeah.
But
I understand thematically.
It's definitely something that still feels bad. It's like, but that was fucking Vincent.
Yeah.
And you see him later in the movie because it's that scene, the diner scene's out of place. And it's like, what? Oh. It does. It feels kind of hollow.
Yeah.
Because you know that he's, you see him elsewhere, you know his fate. Funny enough, there's another short clip of him when he's on the toilet as well, reading the same book.
Yeah.
So there is that glimpse and kind of nod to it. Tarantino does it well. It's weird. I can't do a con without also seeing a little bit of prose in it because there's
this movie that
this movie's all over the place.
It kind of
the
boils
best
down
ways.
to personal preference.
Oh, definitely.
It's like if you're a fan of like really artsy stuff that's like way out there and like different and breaks a lot of rules, then
this is pretty much the poster boy for that.
Yeah, if you're like me and you're not the biggest fan on your storytelling and you hate it when main characters die and it doesn't feel like anything happened, then there's a little bit of thing. I still like the movie.
Yeah.
All the stuff I've mentioned is like I said, it's personal preference. It's not like it doesn't destroy anything I would.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think there's anything in this movie that I can. Really
I would probably rate it a little lower than you, but I would still rate it.
I have a feeling
in the higher range.
I have a feeling, but it's like there's really nothing in this movie that I would point to and say this ruined the movie.
Right.
I could point to this and like this could have been better. This is a little awkward. You know, there's a few bits and pieces. Like some of the scenes probably couldn't be dealt with. Some of the scenes could definitely been shortened down. That's definitely something Tarantino like. You kind of come to expect it. You just forgive it. Tarantino loves to linger.
Yeah.
He does it to good effect in some play. That's and again that's
it's
effective
like, sometimes and then it's not effective.
The problem is some things he does are perfect, and then when he does them again, sometimes they're not so perfect because it doesn't work in that situation.
It's hit and miss, and it's hit and miss within the movies that he makes.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's hit and miss, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like I know what you're trying to do, and it works so well. Later, it's kind of like you want to. Personally, I kind of want to forgive like some of the wronger things with that because the rest of the things are so good.
Yeah, it's one of those like when you did that before, it was really good, but now that you're doing it again, it's not as effective.
Yeah. So like it can be a little off. Yeah. So I'll agree with you. All right. So I think we've prattled on about this pretty well. I think we've pretty much covered everything. I admit this has been a weird review because this is not a movie. Like I guess like because we do regular reviews of movies that are coming out. We don't know if the movies coming out are going to be good or bad. So there's no thing. Pulp Fiction has been rated a classic for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to have like really negative thoughts on this because everyone really loves this movie. There are some problems. It's not a perfect movie. Maybe one of these days I'll find a perfect movie. But it's not this one.
It's unlikely.
This one's really close though. I do really like a lot of things it's done. And you cannot really, at the very least, you cannot defy how much influence this movie has had. No matter what, whether you think of the movie, whether you like it or not, it has influenced everything. It's a massive part of pop culture. It's what put Tarantino on the map. And Tarantino is such a big known filmmaker, and it did so many things that so many people have tried to replicate, and pretty much no one has really done it to the same degree.
Yeah.
So it's a unique film that really doesn't have the same kind of peers. Like there's plenty of films that are just as good, maybe better, but there's no films that are like it. Like you can't really say this is just like Pulp Fiction without it being like practically a parody or a ripoff or an homage to Pulp Fiction. Like if it's so much like Pulp Fiction, it's usually because it is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
So it's a weird place to be. Not gonna lie. Okay.
So
final thoughts.
Ready?
What are you thinking? I pretty much almost
already said
first. Yeah, final thoughts. I'm ready to get that.
Okay. I liked it. My biggest issues with it are just my personal preference in storytelling and my own confusion as to whether or not I do actually like Quentin Tarantino or not.
You still have a few more movies to watch.
Yeah, I'm still working on answering that question. He's definitely, like you said, he's an acquired taste.
Oh yeah.
He's something that you have to kind of get used to and just grow to expect. And then also never expect anything he does.
He has all the tropes. He does all the tropes the same, and yet all the tropes are so bizarre you can't just like, all right.
Like you said, there's nothing in the movie that destroys the movie. Nothing that ruins it. It really just kind of boils down to your preference and whether or not you like the way the story's told, or if one thing bothers you, or if another thing. So it's just, for me, I'm gonna go 8 out of 10.
I had a feeling. I have a feeling I was going to be around that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of my final thoughts have already been said, but basically, yeah, I completely agree. Tarantino in general, and definitely this movie, it's an acquired taste. This is not necessarily the best movie to show just anyone. Mm-hmm. But I love this movie for what it kind of can stand for how much discussion it can bring up. Like, we can probably go back and forth this for days.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Like, and as well as making some of the most entertaining scenes with Samuel Jackson possible. Like, I still think this is probably one of my favorite performances from him. And that's even with like some other. Well, funny enough, like his other favorite performances are from other Tarantino movies. So, I mean, Tarantino and Samuel Jackson works very well.
I don't know. His performance in The Legend of Tarzan was pretty spot on.
I haven't even seen that. You went and saw that without me. Different story. Moving on.
It's a different review.
We have other issues to work out with. We'll do that later.
We might not actually review that movie.
So, yeah, you're right. I'm going to give this a little higher. I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Oh, shit! He did it!
Yeah! The second time doing it.
Solid
Whatever.
9.
I have to do that. Like, whenever I feel a movie really deserves that, it feels so
9.
good. Solid 9.
Yeah.
That's us, if in case you didn't know.
Yeah, that's the name of the channel.
Right.
Alright, so those are our thoughts on Pulp Fiction.
Yay!
What do you guys think of Pulp Fiction? Tell us below and rage at me because I gave it an 8 out of 10.
You must!
How dare you!
There are probably people that have crucified me like, it's not a perfect score, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Well,
How could you not give it a 5 out of 7? Perfect score.
5 out of 7, perfect score. Totally awesome.
Totally awesome.
Totally legit. Okay, anyways, so yeah, that is our review of Pulp Fiction. We covered as much as I think we can humanly cover without going into absolute detail. Like I said, we could probably make hours of content on this just by debating like what actually everything meant. Yeah. So we're not.
We could talk for 3 days about what the fuck is in the briefcase.
It might take that long.
Yeah.
But that's our review of Pulp Fiction. This is our first in a line of classic movie reviews we'll be doing. We have a few others lined up. We'll still be The Godfather. And probably 2001 A Space Odyssey, now that I think about it, would be a good one. Because he needs to finish that.
Yeah.
Seriously. Anyway.
The 10 minutes I saw were really weird.
Kubrick.
There was...
We're also going to try and do something we're going to have more frequent content, and that'll probably come in smaller bits. Which some of you may rejoice in because I'm not entirely sure how popular the hour and a half movies.
The hour and a half long movie.
Like, we have reviews that are as long as the movie, and it's kind of...
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to have a bit of editorials. Look forward. We're going to try and do some editorials on directors. I think we need to do a Tarantino video.
Okay.
We'll watch the rest of the movies and we'll do a Tarantino video. Maybe we'll do a Kubrick video after that because you need to see some Kubrick because I know you've seen very little. If anything.
I have to remember. I know he did The Shining, and I've seen that.
Okay, you've seen The Shining.
I love The Shining.
So you've seen a Kubrick movie. That's
what else has he done?
Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange.
I need to see Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yes, you do. Yeah, that's on our list as well.
Clockwork and 2001 are on my list.
I'm blanking on the other movie. Kubrick is
he's done a lot of other stuff. I know I've seen at least one other.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to try out a few other editorials. Please stick around, like, comment, subscribe, communicate with us in any way that you feel necessary, and we would love to keep producing content for you. We promise it'll be consistent this time.
And we also promise that my Godzilla review is happening.
No, it's not. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
I swear I'm getting into it.
One large cake.
There's so many Godzilla movies.
I'm aware.
There's so many. I'm gonna get to them though, and it's gonna be awesome.
It's called the Titanic. It is literally a Herculean task.
It's so much shit. There's so much shit to get through.
Do I need to bring up other mythologies for you? I will compare you to everything.
Anyway, in addition to that, I think we're
really bad at actually, like, we haven't told each other shit.
No,
so
I think we're looking into. I'm going to start running a D&D campaign, and I think we're looking into putting that up.
We're going to try and record that as well as another thing that we'll try to be doing that hopefully weekly. Fingers crossed. We'll see on the
schedules,
as well as maybe some Let's Plays and a few other events. Eventually, we want to get up to the point of actually producing maybe some short films on this channel. But that's the future.
I got a couple of short films now.
Yeah,
last month.
Things are happening with this guy. Trust me. Yeah. We'll keep you posted as things happen. So, anyways,
link in the description.
Yes.
To the short film. I wrote one and I produced one. One I wrote is better than the one we produced. Anyway.
involved.
There's a story behind the one I produced, and
when that gets
shit
closer
happened.
to completion, we'll have a bit of a video on that as well. So look forward to that. There will be more content coming, and we will keep in touch with everyone. So please stick around. All right, thank you all for allowing last little things. Anything else?
Skrionk. That's the sound Godzilla makes. He goes Skrionk.
Godzilla's apparently happening.
It's happening. I promise. Nice. Would you like to watch all 30 Godzilla movies and help me do it?
I'm not. You know, it's getting to the point where if you keep bringing it up, and I almost want to do it just to get you to shut up about it. Like you're just like, but I think I'd rather just do it with like a whip and a chair. Just like work, record those videos. Like, that might be easier.
Oh man.
Anyway,
it's gonna be awesome.
This has been a very interesting sign off.
Yes.
We thank you all for this. Hope to see you next time. Farewell.
I'm waiting for something funny to happen so that I can put it out.
We're not just freaking laugh machines.
Well, you know what? We need to come up with funnies, Dan.
Stop! You can't just you can't just generate funnies, okay?
I made a funny. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger as Splinter in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What?
He made the funny.
What sort of sorcery are you calling?
You remember when he makes the funny about the pizza in the movie? Hi, Jake.
Help me, Jake!